What's your I don't know, I didn't think I'd get this far moment. I gave my resume to fancy private school. I'm a teacher, but new to the field, and I didn't expect a call back. But they called me today to ask my expected salary and I said I don't know what the average is. Let me Google it. Your girl was not prepared. I was taught to say we can discuss that upon offer of employment if ever asked at an interview, and it saved me because I definitely had to Google it for the area a couple of times. Me at work. I feel like every issue that comes up has me unprepared, but I am always praised for my good work. So, I assume I have imposter syndrome and keep doing what I am doing. The ability to deal with any unprepared issue is more important than knowing how to deal with a fixed amount of issues. I'm maybe 5 years off retiring. People keep asking me what I am going to do once I get there. This is pretty much my reply. ETA. Thanks for all the advice. I've got a few ideas about post-retirement life and a few hobbies I want to pick back up. I'll be doing some volunteering as well. When I was a child, we had a family reunion in a park with a lake and a small beach. Off the side of the lake, far away from where the lifeguards were, was a deck about 10 feet above the water, and a structure with rings hanging for you to swing on, grab the next, etc. I felt the need to try it. After I got to the last ring I realized I was just as far from shore as I was to a floating platform near the beach. My arms were tired from making it to the end. No way could I manage swinging back to the deck, so I dropped into the water and tried swimming to the platform. That's when I realized I fricked up. I knew how to swim, but I was not prepared for the exhaustion in my arms. After what felt like an eternity I managed to make it to the platform, but had no energy to actually climb the tiny rope ladder to make it on top of the platform to rest. So I just grabbed it and rested while in the water for 15 minutes. Before feeling confident I could make close enough to the beach where my feet could touch the bottom. I literally thought I was going to drown at one point. I float on my back when I get tired, take deep breaths and flutter kick to wherever I want to go. I paid off my mortgage a couple months ago. It had been my focus for the last few years to just pump all my money into it, especially for lack of anything better to do during the pandemic. And then I had to put my cap down like a week beforehand. So I was sitting in this house I just paid off, literally alone, feeling like I should be celebrating but instead feeling like utter crap. Congrats. That's such a huge accomplishment. Sorry to hear about your cat. I'm sure they were proud of you for working so hard. When I went for a walk-in interview looking like crap and they hired me on the spot. I get they were hiring for a new store, but they up and said if you want the job it's yours. When can you start? Deadest didn't think I'd make it that far. OMG, same thing happened to me at, and apparently desperate, Applebee's. I think I was wearing pajama pants. When my teacher asked me in front of the class during my presentation how I came up with the idea for my A+ essay that I started and completed in 28 minutes. I did that. We had an assignment in 7th grade to write about how reading impacted your life and how it was important to you. I forgot about it completely until the teacher gave us a class period to edit and perfect it. I whipped the whole essay out in 45 minutes and won a state award for it. I applied for a mortgage loan to waste time since I can never get credit. Boy was I surprised to find out I had a 740 credit score and secured financing. Holding the keys to my new home was an experience. This is how we ended up buying our house almost 7 years ago. I had a few glasses of wine one night and thought it'd be cool to apply for a home loan to see how far away we were from actually qualifying. 40 something days later we were standing in our new living room saying, well, that escalated quickly. I kept waiting for the prank cameras to jump out at our closing. Getting a college degree. After my freshman year of college, I was worried that I would drop out due to stress sometime in my junior year, that I would make it to my final semester and not be able to do well in the senior project class, or that I would fail some of the hardest classes in my senior year. Ended up graduating the 16th of May. For anyone wondering, my degree is in computer science. My entire legal career, I have 4 degrees and a 10-year career in commercial litigation. I just wrapped up a $200 Mill Trusts lawsuit. I started at uni doing theater and stand-up comedy. I have no freaking idea where I turned to get here. My first kitten. When I was very young, probably about 3 or 4. I have always loved animals and routinely begged my mom for a pet whenever we would see one. We went to the grocery store and there was someone standing outside with a box of kittens. I was already conditioned to my mom saying no, so I really only haphazardly asked her if we could get one. She said okay, go pick one. I was so dumbfounded by her answer it took me quite a while to actually choose a kitty, but it is a fond memory I have 20 years later. Rest in peace, Figaro. That is adorable. Probably opening for a big band for my first ever time on stage. Mortifying. Even the sound guy could very clearly see it was my first sound check. Dude, we were all in his basement like a week ago. I just happened to know the promoter. She needed to fill the spot. Called me. And we were all smash drunk when we said yes. Okay, please stop yelling at me. I was pretty badass for being a rock star, obviously. That story is happening now. I quit smoking yesterday, and it didn't go well. I broke down and had 2 cigarettes. I woke up this morning and had another without even registering what I was doing. That's what happens when you smoke for 23 years. It's just an unconscious act. After that, I shredded all my cigarettes and threw them in the trash. I hunted down all my lighters and threw them away. Took my 2 outside ashtrays and emptied them and threw them in the garbage. I've been chewing nicotine gum all day. The cravings are unbearable, but I've mitigated them by doing a bunch of yard work, taking naps, going for walks, and running errands. I haven't had a cigarette in about 17 hours, and it's by far the longest amount of time I've gone without smoking in 23 years. I'm kind of blown away that I've made it this far, but I have no idea what tomorrow will be like. But I'm feeling more confident by the hour. I quit 4 times, once for 2 years, then for 10. Now I smoke an occasional cigar. My old boss, Sam Leverdine, said something I'll never forget. You don't have to want to stop, you just have to decide. Started at a very small company doing sales straight out of college. I went about messaging big corporate players, who obviously would never do business with us since our size, and was laughed at by my new colleagues for even trying. 2 weeks later my boss was asking me what we, a team of 6, should say on the conference call with Toshiba Buzz. Wait, this is a Mad Men episode. I moved in with an old friend from high school, got frisky one night and we slept together, and now we're married. We're discussing having children and I'm like, didn't think it would go this far, Mayo. Such a similar experience for me. Best friend and I made out one drunk night 2.5 years ago, planning our wedding now. My current job. 11 years ago I dropped off a resume at a machine shop. A manager was in the front waiting room, gave me an interview on the spot without even sitting down. I told him I had 0 machining experience, was hired on the spot. Fast forward to present time, I'm one of the highest non-management positions, as a programmer for 5-axis mills. Not the easiest job, but the most interesting I've ever done. An interview at Google. The 20 years younger than me was describing the peer review system. I responded with Jesus, that sounds awful. I did not get the job. The entire last 6 years of my life, I went from a depressed, suicidal new college grad to therapy and then to a digital nomad. I've lived and worked in 3 countries, speak 4 languages and have been to 48 countries so far. When I first started therapy, I didn't think I'd make it 6 months. Now I'm making plans to move abroad more permanently. I definitely didn't think I'd get this far. I'm a coder with a healthy amount of imposter syndrome. I've built an in-house app for a bank that is really complex. People love it. I'm surprised I've even done it. I am in a computer science program and I'm feeling this so hard. I feel like I can study it, but when I graduate, I just know I'm just going to a whole other ballpark. When I got a job in the Pentagon, my mother said, when I was 14 years, that I would grow up to be a prostitute on the streets of NYC. I'm making 6 figures while she's on welfare. Go figure. My sister still thinks I shouldn't have bought a house. I'm permanently single, I have no intention of sharing my space, and I don't have a cushy job with tenure and crap like she does. But my household income is double hers. I have stonks and crypto and artwork and gold and all that other wealth crap. There's a lot she doesn't know. I managed to go onto a P website on a school Chromebook in 10th period study hall. I just sat in awe for like 10 minutes, then X'd out the tab and finished my math homework. When I pulled myself out of the dent in a truck's hood, AMD realized that I had fallen from the second story and was still alive. Specifically, my thought once I could see straight was as follows: how am I still alive? Checks aching but unbroken limbs. Surprised at counting all four. I don't know. I didn't think I'd make it that far, referring to the distance between me and the hole I made. At 22 years old I applied for a VP position at a Fortune 5000 company, and I got an interview. I can only imagine HR was very hungover that day. Another VP and the head of HR was doing the interviewing, and both were not thrilled. Don't let it stop you doing it again. When me and my fiance moved into our own apartment together, we'd actually lived together with my mom's, his mom and my siblings for a year, but that's a long story. Anyway, I didn't really know what to do because I had never fully considered it as an option as something he'd want to do. Domestic life was domestic confusing. It's very hard to keep up a house or apartment. I succeeded at this by having no friends, so nobody visited. I just completed a master's after telling myself age 19 that I never even wanted to get a degree at all. Funny thing is though that I can't find a job after all that. Every day, my mom died when I was 13 and I've been struggling with depression ever since. It's been up recently, but the biggest moment was a few years ago when I got my GED and just had a moment of I didn't think I'd still be alive by now. Was a scrubby teen weirdo on the fast track to turning into a greasy incel. I somehow convinced myself that if I couldn't date the prettiest girl in school, then it must mean that all girls are stupid and stuck up. She actually said yes and we dated for a month. I was still a socially underdeveloped cringe buffet and ruined the relationship, but she was nice and I learned a lot from the experience. I even got to touch a boob. Cringe buffet. Family was super mad I didn't go to higher education after high school. 10 years later, I have 1 year left to pay off my own house. 40% pay increase if I manage to get any diploma. Work from home on demand, no questions asked. I have no idea how I got here. 4 years ago I was working in a call center. Now I am LVL2 guy doing this tech mumbo jumbo I can't even really explain cause I never studied it. I just saw other people do it and now I do it too. I have no plan and no idea where it goes from here. Tech mumbo jumbo. D. Had a girl come over and just sat with her home alone and asked her what she wanted to do. With no response I just sat there and finished watching The Dirt on Netflix. That's sus. In grade 6 I found an old unused model rocket, so I built and launched it with my dad. I decided to try and make my own from scratch and hope it didn't explode. Only a year later and I am now 5 rockets deep and almost ready to launch my multi-stage camera equipped approx. 0.75 m tall MK5. This is what happens when you give a kid resources and the ability to learn and create independently instead of the rail that they put you on in school. Wasn't exactly my moment, but it directly affected me. My husband and I had discussed moving away from our hometown because the crime rate was skyrocketing. We had no idea where we wanted to go, and honestly we were comfortable with life. It was a good idea, but wasn't something we were working towards. He owned his own business and I was a preschool site supervisor. We had a good life. He went with the local college that he volunteered at to visit a manufacturing factory a couple hours away. They were all going to do weld test while they were there, but it wasn't for a job. It was to see if they could potentially get a job there if they were to actually apply. The company wasn't hiring welders at the moment, but wanted to give the students something to do. Well, he called me 5 hours later to tell me he did the weld tests and they offered him a job on the spot. The money was good, better than what he was bringing in with his business, and he thought it was a wise decision. I was completely caught off guard and absolutely didn't want to move. We discussed it when he got home and decided he would go try it out for a month before I quit my job. He moved a month later and 2 months after that I followed. Best decision we ever made. Graduating college. Currently living at home with parents. Jobless. and isolated from the outside world due to quarantine. And the cherry on top, no idea where my life is headed and still trying to figure out what to do in life. I mean, that's pretty much par for the course after college. Just keep moving forward and eventually you'll get where you want to be. I used to overdraw my account on a weekly basis and have been evicted homeless several times. Now I live comfortably and have a couple thousand in my savings, as well as being 2 months ahead in my bills. My bed broke a couple of weeks ago because it's old, but I could just buy a new one and not worry about not being able to afford food and bills because of it. I felt so awkward and uncomfortable talking to the sales rep because I never expected to be at a point in my life where I could invest in quality. And by quality, I mean not Walmart furniture, especially on such short notice. I went from a steamy check to $140,000 on my first penny stock. Never had time to wrap my head around it before it pulled back to $20,000. Still way up though. Celebrating my 21st birthday. Suicidal for a long while before that. I'm better now. Work for a major tech company and married an amazing woman. But it was surreal being 21, 22, 23. Every year felt like I stole it or something. Still does tbh. I had just quit a call center job and answered a Craigslist ad for basic HTML, CSS and data entry. 15 years later I'm a senior front-end engineer and I'm really not sure how I accidentally a whole career. Based on my frustrations with the housing market in my city, I'll have one of these moments whenever I do manage to buy a house. Like, what now? Furniture? Paint all of the walls yellow? Tile every single surface? Whenever I do manage to buy a house, you must live on a completely different planet to me. Single and renting at 30 years old with a cat and no light at the end of the tunnel to 40 years old with 5 3-year goldfish, 4 chickens, 3 humans, 2 dogs and 1 house. Life's not short, life's freaking long. A lot happens. Make the best of it. What happened to the cat? I worked up the nerve and complimented a co-worker I admire about their shirt and they smiled and thanked me. What do I do now? Nothing. It's all okay, you don't have to do nothing. I went to computer camp as a kid. While in one of my programming classes, I saw the school's library shared drive. I guessed like 3 passwords and got on. I showed my teacher because I was honestly surprised myself that it worked. He then requested I get off immediately and he was going to inform the school that a 12-year-old was able to guess their password. Time to perhaps beef up their security. During our last week of school this year, my best friend was having doubts about her future and asked what I planned to do for college. I sat there, conflicted, for almost 10 minutes before shrugging and giving the standard, "I'm not sure." She was a bit concerned, since she and I are moving on to our junior year of high school. In my defense, all I could think of was how I didn't even see myself living past age 14, to say the least. She ended up suggesting my career plan for me, and I proudly plan on going with it. My entire adult life was planning on killing myself before I became an adult, so I didn't really plan anything for my life because of that. Now I'm in my mid-20s, still living with my parents, work at a part-time job, and trying to take it one day at a time, trying not to let my mind slip away. I have a long-standing reputation for being a great idea man, but terrible at executing those ideas. A while back I had an idea for a tabletop, cards and dice game, and it should be done and out this summer. This was out of the blue. I've never designed a game. I'm not even that much of a gamer, but I had an idea and I just kept going with it. When I was watching Edge of Tomorrow before bed and I got to the part where he says, "I don't know, we've never gotten this far." But he was shitting her at that moment. He just wanted to wet his dong a bit more. Joked with my lunch mate at work that we should both go back to work and do all the silly things people advise you to do if you want to climb the ladder. Within a short period of time we were both managers, insurance company, and in the years that followed we continued to go higher and higher. I retired this year at 55, having made more $ than I ever thought would be possible. Currently in one now, Midway though the spring semester I said F it and registered for this summer program for undergrad students to get experience. I didn't have the best GPA then, usually a solid 3.5 plus, but with COVID and online situations, dropped to a 2.8. And I had a vast variety of experience but nothing that was solid for what they were doing. I wanted to major in mechanical engineering, just said mechanical for now but still debating if it's right, and what they are doing over the summer is textile engineering, never done anything of the sort. Somehow I got accepted. OHH, did I mention that they have a $4,000 stipend for students that are going? $25 day meal payments on top of the stipend and free room apartment at one of the best universities around. NC State for those that are curious. Problem is most of the stuff I'm doing here is brand new to me while the others seem to have at least taken a class in this. We've been having meeting all week to try to set up a schedule ourselves, working with a PhD student on their final paper to get their PhD, and when I would be asked, this is pretty much what goes through my head. Sufficient to say that I am still going, though I have no idea what I'm doing. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.